So the director of the project that I'm working on right now asked me the question, do you think we're using shallow focus too much? In other words, when we blur the background, when we do that skinny depth of field where the background's blurry, are we overdoing it? And I started seeing articles of people saying how shallow depth of field doesn't make your movie cinematic. And I agree with that. But what I disagree with is that I think that there's a trend heading towards shallow focus and being out of focus. And not because it makes it cinematic, I think it makes it interesting. In classic movies, the goal was to be as sharp as possible, and they try to keep everything in focus. This is called deep focus. It was used by Orson Welles in the famous movie Citizen Kane. It was used by many classic filmmakers like Alfred Hitchcock, and one of my personal favorites, John Ford, where he would have these wide open vistas in perfect deep focus. Nowadays, we have TikTok, Instagram, and it's all filmed in perfect deep focus on these amazing smartphones. We are constantly being flooded with all these videos of reality TV, sports, live events, and the one thing they all have in common is perfect focus. So I think now more than ever, when we do see content that's blurry and almost out of focus, our minds immediately recognize these shots as something different, something interesting. And one of my favorite directors that does a great job of this is Denis Villeneuve. What he does is he makes the object that you want to see out of focus. Like this scene from Chicago. We want to see what's in the mirror, but it's out of focus, and that only makes us want to see it even more. Here are other examples where he focuses on something symbolic or meaningless. It creates curiosity about what's out of focus. So this technique of making the thing you want to see out of focus, I saw an incredible example. I think one of the best examples I've seen was in the TV show The Last of Us. In the very beginning part of The Last of Us, we're learning things slowly, and we have this scene where Joel's daughter goes to this old lady's house to help her, and she looks really creepy. And right here, it gets like, you know something's happening, and you want to see it so bad. Like, what is going on? What is there, something coming out of her mouth? What is it? And I think making it out of focus makes it so much better.
Can I borrow this? Oh.
This is the same technique, only different because we know exactly who this man is, and we're following the little girl, and the only thing that's in focus is her and what's around her. And I think this really adds to the thriller aspect of it because it puts us in her shoes. She knows the man's out there, but he's just out of focus. And I think this is really a great effect for a thriller movie that M. Night Shyamalan does. So let's talk about the more traditional way of using shallow depth of field, focusing on the object you want people to see. And one of my favorite examples is in the movie Moonlight, where in this scene, the main character is going to stay in focus, but everyone around them is out of focus. And it really isolates him and sort of, shows the loneliness. And it forces us to look at him and not wander. Then it goes to the antagonist here. Then it goes back, a slow pan, back to the main character, and we're forced to look at him. And then this scene is just great, where it really shows the loneliness. He's in focus, everyone out of focus, the camera's moving back. So it doesn't just stop with shallow focus. I'm seeing more and more of a trend to, in fact, be out of focus, to be clumsy with the focus pulling. These big budget films, they could have perfect focus, but they've chosen to be out of focus for a split second here and there to kind of add a clumsiness, like this example from the Florida Project. And look how clumsy the camera doesn't focus quick enough. So there's split seconds where she's out of focus. And then these awkward jump cuts. She's out of focus right there. But it's great. And I think this was meant to be done like this clumsiness, because it really makes us feel like this is a memory, that this is a moment. Let's look at a little more subtle effects of going out of focus. The first one is from Licorice Pizza. So you're following them, the camera's a little clumsy, and then right here, she's out of focus. We don't even have them in frame. And now one's in focus but not the other. And now they're both in focus. But there's a clumsiness about it. The tracking shot is a great shot to be in shallow depth of field and have it clumsy focus pulling. This is a great example from the TV show The Bear on FX. And you can see we're in shallow focus right now. It's gonna do a parallax around him, and right here, he's out of focus. It's not perfect. I mean, it's just a subtle, quick thing, but I really think it adds, the clumsiness adds to it. And I think it's great. I love using the shallow focus right here. I love the bokeh lights in the background. Really makes you focus on him, makes you know this is a tough moment. I'm gonna end the video on something that I was a little conflicted. Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead. I liked the idea he had of keeping a really thin, shallow depth of field and make it interesting. And I like a lot of the shots that he used. But I think this might be a case where he did overdo it a little bit. You know, you built these big, beautiful sets, and then there were scenes where things were out of focus. This is also a testimony when it can be overdone. If you use it for a whole movie like he did, it takes value away by the middle of it. And so, but I still like him being different, and I think this is an interesting interview. And so I'm gonna end it on that, and you can kind of take what you want from it. But that's all I have for today. Thank you for watching.
But I had gone down this sort of optical rabbit hole. I've been shooting a lot of stills with the Dream lenses, which are these 50mm Canon lenses that I've been really into. I got it in my head that I was going to shoot the movie with these lenses because they have incredibly thin aperture. Like they open to a 0.95. When the lens is fully open, it's really the skinniest depth of field you can imagine. And really what I think the shallow focus does is it gives this kind of weirdly claustrophobic feeling to like wide open spaces that I think is really an interesting and cool thing.